Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And there's a very interesting PDF that I've linked directly below this video. And let's have a look at what it's all about, okay? First of all, just yesterday, I put up a video about the stages of a genocide. And although this channel does not recognize that the white population is currently facing a genocide, it says it's at stage 8, which is kind of knocking at the door. It's extreme persecution. And the rest of the world and the mainstream media are looking the other way as if it's not happening. That's what a load of bullshit they are. Now, the PDF that I've attached here is quite enlightening because it's got a lot of links which you can follow and do your own research on. And this is a shout out to Julia, who sent me the email, and she's talking about the National Democratic Revolution. The key word there, which is a complete misnomer, is democratic, because the ANC is anything but democratic. So anyway, we'll call the National Democratic Revolution the NDR, just to make it easier. From 1984 to 1994, the People's War strategy was used to give the ANC the degree of domination needed to drive the NDR forward in the post-apartheid era. This required, in particular, the weakening of elimination of black opposition, and the People's War was singly successful in achieving this. Now, remember how the Zulu IFP party was kind of sidelined under Buthelezi way back then. You know, it's the ANC win at all costs. They didn't care. Thousands of people were murdered during this time. Thousands. Second, the ANC sees itself not as an ordinary political party bound by the ordinary rules of the political game, but as a national liberation movement responsible for implementing the NDR, and thus as uniquely entitled to rule. This makes it contemptuous of Parliament, opposition parties, a free press, an autonomous SABC, independent civil society, and adverse electoral outcomes, as in the Western Cape. Hence, contrary to what many journalists have said, there is nothing baffling about its recent initiatives to clamp down on the press or weaken the Democratic Alliance in a variety of ways. And guess what? Cyril Ramaphosa, the author of that notorious document published by the ANC only for its hierarchy in 1993, which we have distributed widely and is starting to make its face seen all over the internet. Believe me, that Cyril Ramaphosa is part of this complete shambles. Third, the ANC does not regard itself as bound by the Constitution. It sees this not as a solemn pact, but simply as a tactical compromise which can readily be changed as a balance of power shifts in the ANC's favour. This stance has long been hinted by ANC leaders, but is now being openly expressed. Thus far, despite its attitude towards the Constitution, the ANC has nevertheless generally avoided overt damaging amendments to the text, such as those on floor crossing. Instead, various constitutional provisions have simply in practice been disregarded. These include Parliament's duty to hold the executive to account, the need for a new electoral system after 1999, and the prohibition of cadre deployment. The NDR also means, of course, that the ANC has no principled commitment to key constitutional safeguards, including press freedom, property rights, and an independent judiciary. Now, earlier today, we had that video of members of the press being arrested for covering a protest and people being arrested at that protest. That is an absolute disgrace. And not only that, but You look at property rights, expropriation of land without compensation. These are all complete breaches of the whole basis of the Rainbow Nation. This is a government which has gone feral. Fourth, cadre deployment has been used to give the ANC control over all the levers of state power, including the judiciary, including parastatals and the public broadcaster. The aim is to use cadre deployment to extend ANC control to the judiciary, the press, business, universities, and influential organizations in civil society. In the economic sphere, first, the ANC has repeatedly emphasized the need for demographic representativity in employment in both the public and the private sectors. This has also been made an overt demand of both the Employment Equity Act and some elements in the Black Economic Empowerment, or BEE, codes. Second, the goal of demographic representativity in all spheres means that targets for redistribution that fall short of this are likely to be increased in due course. Thus, for example, in revising the Mining Charter in 2010, the minister, along with many journalists, implied it was a big concession that the ownership target was being kept at 26% by 2014, and this target may well be raised in time. Third, part of the ANC's aim has been to increase the power of the black working class, which the organisation sees as a main driver of the NDR. The ANC includes within the class both those who have jobs and those who do not, and may of course regard the unemployed as particularly important in driving the revolution forward. This explains policies such as the Labour Relations Act of 1995, the Base Conditions of Employment Act of 1997, and the labour bills now in the pipeline, all of which build union power while helping to price the unskilled and inexperienced out of the job market. They also thus play an important part in generating the ticking bomb of massive youth unemployment. Fourth, implementation of the NDR requires a strong developmental state and provides a continual impetus towards ever more state intervention. In the social sphere, first, the NDR promotes an increasing dependence on the government. The aim is seemingly not to encourage self-reliance and economic independence, but rather to ensure that people rely on the state for money, goods and services given to them via social grants, free housing, free basic electricity and water, free education, free healthcare, and for many, and subsidized transport. Where's my everything for free hat? You know what we're talking about? The EFF policy. You notice how the ANC and the EFF are one and the same? Everything for free. That's where it's happening. And it can't work, guys. You can't do that. You can't financially run a country where everything is for free. Doesn't work. So they're running the country into the ground. Getting back to the social sphere. Second, key additional aims, at least for COSATU and the South African Communist Party, are to roll back market provisions in areas such as health and education. In the context of national health insurance proposals, for instance, COSATU would like to get rid of private healthcare and bring all healthcare services under state control, which will further reinforce dependency on the government. Now, you don't have to be a genius to understand that the state of public hospitals in South Africa is a complete disgrace and it's an embarrassment. The nurses who are in there right now because of BEE, the only thing that they have that they're interested in is the paycheck. When that comes in, they're happy. As far as the patients are concerned, that's a bit hard. Not interested. That's the level of healthcare in South Africa today. And unfortunately, that's the majority of the nursing staff in South Africa. Anyway, let's keep on going here. Third, similar thinking seems to underpin current proposals on land reform and rural development, as the Land Tenure Security Bill of 2010 shows, and the Green Paper on Land Reform of 2011 demonstrates even further. The aim is no longer to build up a new generation of independent black farmers owning their own land. Instead, land reform beneficiaries are confined to leasehold ownership, while communal land tenure in former homeland areas will be retained. Now, I put up a video the other day which shows that the only group who are excluded from actually applying for leasehold farm in the future are the white population. And that is inherently racist. And it's what the ANC government is. It's a racist government. In addition, those who move to proposed new agri-villages will have nothing but temporary permits to live and farm in these settlements, and will be subject to eviction by state officials if they don't farm well enough. Far from extending land ownership to many more black South Africans, the 2010 bill and the Green Paper will bring about incremental land nationalisation. There will be no big bang approach, but the government will gradually assume ownership of ever more land, while more and more South Africans find themselves without individual ownership and dependent on the state's permission for their occupation of the land on which they live and work. So you're talking about a communist state. That's where South Africa is going. Now remember, just below this, there's a PDF link. You can download it and you can read it. There are a whole lot of links in there. For the guys in my channel who research, please research and give me your feedback on this whole thing. This is really getting down to the guts of what's going on in South Africa. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed, ring the bell for the updates, and have a great evening. Bye for now.